So when I was pregnant with Ian, it was the perfect pregnancy. No issues. Full-term baby. Got to the hospital 8 centimeters dilated, and he had amnio, the whole 9 yards. 8 centimeters dilated, and he stalled, and took 2 hours to make it through the birth canal. So it was a 2-hour wait for him at that point, but no indication that there was ever going to be any issues. When he was born, he had a cleft palate in the soft tissue of the roof of his mouth. It's just a hole in the roof of his mouth. So he had some issues with feeding at that point. At the age of about 1, we had the cleft palate repair done at a hospital in Bergen County, New Jersey. It wasn't a children's hospital. And he had many, many stitches in the roof of his mouth. God love him. At that point, the hospital, which was not a children's hospital in New Jersey, in Bergen County, New Jersey, they started administering a Tylenol overdose. And they administered it for 2 days in the hospital, and I continued it for 3 days at home before my sister figured out what was almost killing Ian. No one understands how seriously dangerous Tylenol can be, but at doses double and triple what they're supposed to have, it can cause liver failure, which is what it eventually, not liver failure, but it was liver toxicity, that we were back in the hospital to get his liver cleansed. So we were in there for another 2 days having his liver cleansed. It's not been an easy road for Ian. Typically has some difficult issues. And he had his glasses when he was a baby. He was about a year and a half old when he got his glasses. Cincinnati Children's Hospital was fabulous. And he still couldn't lift his arms, so he got used to wearing his glasses, and we didn't have to worry about him taking them off, because at that point he still wasn't able to even lift his arms. So part of Ian's daily routine is, because his colon doesn't work, and a high percentage of children with special needs have these kind of issues, is that we do a daily enema. And it's, some people might not even realize the extent that we have to go through, but we do the entire enema setup. We mix saline with glycerin and heat it slightly, warm it so it's not cold, and then we have to administer it for 10 minutes. He sits and waits for 10 minutes, and then he sits on the potty for 30 minutes. That's every evening.
So one of the things Ian does to also comfort himself is he will stim, which he self-stimulates. He'll take a leaf or a piece of grass and he'll fling it, and it's one of the things in autism. Repetitive behaviors are very common, and so he does that. We try to not let him do it too often, because the focus becomes so much on the stimming that he loses the whole world around him. But sometimes it's just a little break for him.
It's calming. It is calming for him. And at school, that was one of the things when I took Ian to school, and I would say, don't let him stim. And they said, we don't let him stim continuously, but we do give him breaks to stim because he comforts him. So he can go have his 5 minutes, but then they say, okay, time to get back to work. That's stimming, isn't it? That's stimming, isn't it?
Bev and I met at a cycling party in 2008, and we were instantly attracted to each other. And through the course of talking to her friend, who was a mutual friend, I found out that she had a daughter adopted from China, and she also had a special needs son. I didn't know what the special needs was, but I was so smitten by her that it didn't matter, no matter what. So for the time that we met, and I met Ian, I found out that he was autistic, and it has never been an issue as far as something that would keep us apart.
It's been a challenge, but not an issue.
Exactly.
I agree. We have some, bigger issues like all families do, but the autism part of it isn't. And it was nice, Perry is a teacher of 28 years, so it was nice that he was aware of what autism is, and the challenges that it brings into a family.
We were married 2 years later in 2010, And some of the pictures that are in the wedding are amazing because, you know, we have Leah and Bev holding Ian at the fountain. And
he was struggling during the ceremony.
Right.
It was hot.
Yes, it was a hot day for sure. But just, I think it really represented what our family represents even to this day, and more so even this day.
I agree.
Things that I've noticed when I first met Ian, it was probably October of 2008. He was not very mobile. He had to walk with braces.
And a walker.
If he wanted to be in a chair, like a tall chair, he had to be lifted in. He couldn't feed himself. Obviously, self-care was something that was not going to happen. He was nonverbal. But since then, over the years, he's become a lot stronger. He was never supposed to talk or walk. Well, if I could get him to run in one direction, he would win the Special Olympics because
Amen.
He runs 100 miles an hour just in 40 different directions.
I remember when we moved back to this area from the Northeast, and I remember Cincinnati Children's Hospital saying to me, "This child may never walk or talk." And I said to them at that point, if there is any possibility that this child will ever walk or talk, I will make it happen. And Lord, be careful what you ask for, I say, because he's talking and, like Pear says, running in 20 different directions. But he's doing really well. He's made a lot of progress, and it's because of our village that he's made a lot of progress. We have 4 child care providers. We have a school system in Boone County that is by far one of the best, I believe, in the country. He did attend some private schools that apply behavioral services, a couple other private schools that are focused on behavioral therapies. And he's doing really, really well. I'm very, very pleased. And he has his grandfather with him every day. My father arrives at our house at 5 a.m. every morning to sit next to his bed until he wakes up. And talks to him constantly. It's very nice.
Yep, he is full of surprises. Obviously, one of the issues with autism is the fact that they have issues with processing social interaction, so more subtle things like humor, sarcasm aren't always available to these guys. But I remember we were on a flight to Colorado, and it was a wedding of Bev's nephew, and Bev was sleeping, and Ian was reaching over, pinching her nose, trying to get her to wake up, and Ian would laugh so hard. So it was the first time I noticed him using humor.
And purposeful play. You know, he isn't a child that does a lot of purposeful play. He stems a lot and things like that. Now he does purposeful play, but that was a couple years ago.
And he does do some things that are typical for autistic kids. Eye contact is not usual, but sometimes he'll make that connection. We do play, sometimes we'll roughhouse, and he's in some ways a typical boy. He can be mischievous. He used to tip over chairs in pictures. And he would laugh, a lot over that, but he knew that he was not doing what he was supposed to be doing. He's gotten a lot stronger. He can climb a swing set now. He can swing. He enjoys the pool. Summertime is probably his favorite time just because he loves being outdoors.
I agree.
And he has a hearty appetite.
Yeah.
He can eat an entire steak just like we do.
He's progressed, definitely progressed a lot over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Right.
Definitely.
One of the things I think is just the insistence on our part and everybody involved in Ian's life that he is a part of the family. We take him everywhere we go.
And that's how he gets through his challenges. I mean, that is, I think that it is a big family, it's the village that takes care. It's just like you have to let him experience things to get used to it, right? You need a little routine and experience with things. If we never take him anywhere, how will he ever learn? How does anyone learn? So I would say the takeaway message for people in general that I would be interested in mentioning would be what my father said yesterday morning when he came from putting Ian on the school bus, and he kind of had tears in his eyes, and I'm like, Dad, why are you upset? And he said, I'm happy he's doing so well. And he said,
anybody don't like him is wrong. Yeah. He's a good boy. He's my boy.
and I said, I totally agree with that, Dad. I think the takeaway needs to be, there are lots of people in this world and lots of different type of people, and we always say around here, it's a great big world. You know what? Everyone should be accepted. Agreed?
I agree. You know, a takeaway also is for the siblings of kids who have special needs, because many times they're the unsung heroes. Leah many times is the translator for people that aren't used to being around Ian. She can decipher what he's saying, and a lot of people can't.
Right.
So those kids get short shrift sometimes, and people need to realize, and even parents need to realize that these kids deserve a little special attention, because so much attention is focused on these little guys.
Yep.
Because of their needs.
I think that's funny. Do you have anything to say? Do you want to tell people hi?